If I go there, it's going to unearth a lot of emotions that I don't want to deal with. It's going to involve going back into this very traumatic season of my life that I've learned to basically forget about. I coped with things by forgetting about them. He came in the tent and just sat there and stared at us so ominously, not saying a word. And we're like, what's going on? Like, this was in the middle of the worst season of our lives already because of the affair. And so he got up, he walked outside the tent and just stood there in the shadows and then went inside. That, I think, is when we were really afraid, because we recognized he's unstable, he's been violent before, he had lots of guns in the house, and that was kind of our worst fear. And we've never seen him this way. I really had no idea what was next, but I knew it probably wasn't good. So that very evening, my mom says, "You guys go wait for me in the car." She went in the house, she grabbed the keys secretly, and we left. I called him Dad until I resented him enough that I didn't. My mom was great. My stepdad, he was violent. He was unpredictable. He comes home and you don't know if it's going to be a good family game night or if he's going to be in a terrible mood and throwing things around, throwing me around, bruises, tears, the whole 9 yards. I remember my mom sitting me down and sharing with me that he was not my biological dad. There was this question, well, then who is? I lived with this inner belief that I wasn't good enough. For most of my teen years and even my adult years, I just sort of went on with my life and I buried a lot of that emotion, but I think that insecurity made its way into most of my everyday life in ways that I never even realized. I was still somewhat afraid to ask the question, who is my biological dad? And my mom was in town, and on the way to church, this thought crossed my mind. I could ask her right now, here in the car, just the two of us, who's my dad? I just came out with it. I said, "Mom, I know this is really random, but I would really like to know more about who my dad is." And she says, "I've always been waiting for you to ask. I've been prepared to answer this question. I was just waiting for you to be ready." She says, "I'll tell you whatever you want to know." So she began to share the story. She said that when she was a teenager, she was dating him. It was a serious relationship. They got pregnant, and then they started planning a life together. They were going to get married. And then she sits down with him at some point as they're planning this wedding, and she says, "I'm really concerned we're getting married for the wrong reasons." And so they broke it off. Well, after I was born, he placed a phone call. He was told by one of my family members to just go away, to let me have a normal life, and so that's what he did. My mom shares this story with me, and she grabs her iPhone and she goes on Facebook and she looks up my dad's Facebook page. And then she turns it around and I see my dad for the first time in my life. And there was no doubt. I saw his face and I knew that is my dad. And it was this moment of just feeling like I found him. This is the man that I've spent my whole life wondering about. And my mom began to share a few more details with me. But honestly, at that point, I was so ready to end this conversation because I had a mission and I was going to go find his Facebook page for myself and send him a message. And I really didn't know what I was going to say, but I knew I had to reach out to him. I had to make a connection. And so I go and I sent him this message and I said, "My name is Dakota Lynch. Is this Brent?" And he responded right away. Within just a moment, and he said, "Yes." My heart's beating out of my chest, and I said, "I know that you have a life and a family. I don't want to disrupt that, but after 31 years of wondering who my dad is, it would mean the world to me if we could have a conversation and maybe get to know each other." And within just 60 seconds, he responds and said, "Can we talk?" I said, give me just a minute. And we were having a FaceTime. Within 45 minutes of finding out that my dad was alive on the face of the earth, I found myself sitting on my back porch with my iPad about to have a FaceTime conversation with him. And all of these emotions are going through my mind, and I find myself realizing I don't want an apology. I don't want an explanation. All I really want is for this stranger to get on this video call, look me in the eyes, and tell me he loves me, to embrace me as his son. But there was also this fear, realizing that's a really long shot. What are the odds that this person who has been absent for the last 31 years is going to even believe me when I tell him that he's my father? But he joins the video call, and he was in tears too. Because in the back of his mind for these 31 years has been this thought that he probably has another son out there. But what do you do with that? When he got his life together and I was a teenager, he realized that if he connected with me, if he reached out, that could be very traumatic. And so he just went on with his life, just like I went on with my life. But we joined this video call, and he began to share his side of the story, which was basically that he wasn't sure whether he had a son. And he didn't want to intrude in my life, but he went on for these last 3 decades wondering if he had a son out there. And I'll never forget the moment when he looked into that video call and said, "Son, I'm going to love you well." And these were words that I thought I would never hear. And so we spent 45 minutes on this video call just getting to know one another. I got to tell my dad that he was a grandpa. So he's finding his son and his grandson. And after 45 minutes, we get off the phone, and I was just in shock, because this truly was the best case scenario. I started to get very emotional because I realized that this is really a moment I've been waiting for 31 years. It was just so surreal to finally connect with my dad after all these years, because I had told myself this would never happen. So when my dad and I left the airport, we went to the park, and for the first time in my life, I got to play a game of catch with my dad.